I have this really bad habit of trying out every single free to play game that Steam drops in front of me. And when I saw that Hired Ops by Absolute Soft takes place in the Tarkov universe, there was no point in resisting. I knew I had to try it. Let's get straight to the elephant in the room. This game looks and sounds like Call of Duty and Escape from Tarkov eloped to Russia and had a baby without their parents' consent. But what actually is it? Here's a high-level overview of the game. Hired Ops is a free-to-play, session-based first-person shooter, featuring respawn game modes and arcadey shooting mechanics. The game is based in the Russia 2028 universe and is a spiritual sequel to Contract Wars. For those unaware, Escape from Tarkov is also based on the lore of Contract Wars and is being developed by Battlestate Games, who split from Absolute Soft. But this game is being developed by Absolute Soft, who made Contract Wars back in 2010, not Battlestate Games. Got it? Good. Hired Ops began its life as a premium early access release back in late 2016. From what I can tell from the old reviews on Steam, the game suffered from a very small player base when it was still early in development, and eventually they had to switch to a free-to-play model to keep the game alive. The full version of the game was released on Steam on April 13th, 2021, with version 1.0, and that is what I will be reviewing in this video. Now with that background out of the way, let's get to the review. I'm going to start with some objective facts about the game and break it down at the end to give you my final review. The gameplay. This game is not realistic like Escape from Tarkov. If that's what you were expecting, turn back. This is an arcade-style shooter like the older Call of Duty games. Guns have very little recoil and it's very easy to control. Weapons fit into the obvious archetypes such as mid-range assault rifles, long-range sniper rifles, and close-range SMGs. While it's not impossible to pick someone off from far away with a shotgun, you're encouraged to stick to your class and weapons playstyle. There are 4 different classes that are locked to different weapon archetypes, and they each have different gadgets that can be deployed throughout the match. You can only edit classes at the main menu. Once you take a class in-game, you can't change it. Instead, the game has a buy screen similar to what you might see in Counter-Strike or Rogue Company. This buy screen has gadgets and kill streaks available for you to add to your arsenal throughout the match. And you can also change your ammo and armor types to counter what the enemy players are using. Game modes. Don't expect to find any exclusive must-play game modes in Hired Ops. Everything here you've probably played before. Team Deathmatch, Gun Game, Zone Control, and a Bomb Plant and Defense mode all make the roster. Some of them have unique twists, such as how the Gun Game weapons reset after death near the end of the match, meaning that in order to win, you'll have to actually go on a couple kill streaks. This was a fun change to Gun Game and made the last few tiers more exciting to me personally. Next up, how does the game sound? Well, besides the obviously reused voice lines from Escape from Tarkov, the sound effects are actually pretty good. The main menu music is pretty intense and I like it a lot, but that's about the extent of music in the game. Expect to be able to clearly hear footsteps around you, which is a really nice thing to have, especially since other games recently have been struggling with balancing footstep audio. Now let's get to some of the bad things about the game. Networking in this game is not great and leads to a lot of problems. One major one that I have is kill trading. Now, if you're not familiar with what that term kill trading means, it means that you and the opponent kill each other at the same time. This is usually caused by networking or ping issues, but in Hired Ops, it happens to me nearly every death, even when my ping is at 40 or below. This is extremely frustrating because it feels like you should have won a fight easily, but you end up dying anyway in trading. Another problem I have with the gameplay is that you do not automatically heal after a fight, and there's no way to heal without buying a single-use med pack from the respawn menu. This healing system all but guarantees that you will always lose the next gunfight after your first engagement. This is incredibly frustrating, and I'll always stand by Call of Duty Black Ops 4's healing system, which encourages you to get aggressive and weave in and out of combat while actively healing yourself. In Hired Ops, going into a gunfight with anything less than full health might as well be chalked up as an automatic loss. I have to wonder if this is an intentional design decision to make sure that people can't go on super long streaks, but no matter what the reasoning is, it just doesn't feel fun to me. If I win a fight, I should be able to heal every single time and go into the next one at full health. Monetization and pay to win. For those of you who have watched my videos in the past, you'll know that I am not afraid to talk about monetization models and manipulative business practices in gaming, and we definitely need to talk about it here. As I mentioned earlier, this game is currently free to play, meaning there are microtransactions that allow them to make money. I searched every menu I could and found no examples of pay-to-win content, though older versions of the game definitely had guns available for purchase, but it looks like as of version 1.0, those have been removed. All guns can be unlocked via leveling up classes or completing contracts for each company. Oh, and remember how I said before that you can't change your loadouts in-game? Well, you can actually get additional loadout slots. You just have to pay premium currency for them. That sucks. Locking quality of life features behind a paywall is not a good look for any game. So despite not necessarily being pay to win, this game definitely has some questionable monetization practices in it. Be aware of this before you spend money in this game. Hackers. I didn't have to play long to start finding what I would call very sus players in my lobbies, and judging by the reviews, I'm not the only one. Some of them even felt the need to comment, "not hacking by the way," in the all chat after the game. Since the game is now free to play, it's going to be very easy for hackers to avoid bans. And speaking of bans, there's no in-game reporting system. I mean, come on guys, it's 2021. How do we not have in-game reporting in every single game? Difficulty finding games. I had a very hit or miss experience with matchmaking in this game so far. On the release day, matchmaking didn't work at all, and I had to manually find servers from the included server browser, which is admittedly a nice feature. Being able to manually pick servers is cool. However, no matter what server I ended up with, my ping was always all over the place, and oftentimes the ping of the whole lobby was very wide. I would have 40 ping in some matches while the enemy team would be at 110. This resulted in wildly varying time to kills, and just not a very good experience from a networking perspective. Graphics and performance. The graphics of this game look like it could be from a late PlayStation 3 era game. Obviously, the art style looks a lot like Escape from Tarkov, but the lighting is nowhere near as good, and the level of detail on a lot of these models is very, very poor for a game that's being released in 2021. The plus side of this is that it runs great, and I was able to lock it at 120 FPS on most maps, with a few maps dipping to about 90 FPS. That was while recording and streaming. Let's get into my personal opinion on this product. I think that the moment-to-moment gameplay of this game is quite fun at times, especially in the gun game and team deathmatch on smaller maps. I could totally see myself picking this up for 30 minutes here and there to crank out some short, high-octane matches. But the incredibly small amount of content mixed with the networking issues makes this a hard sell for anything over an occasional time waster. I'm not considering putting any money into this game right now, and I wouldn't recommend you do either unless you find yourself reaching the very end game without frustrations, which I doubt you'll be able to do. The game is currently sitting at a mixed review score on Steam, and I think my review of the game lines up pretty well with them. With all that being said, I think this is a really interesting title that almost feels like it was ripped out of the year 2008 and dropped into 2021. There aren't very many first-person shooters that have this style of gunplay and arcade action anymore. But the graphics and networking hold it back from feeling modern. So it almost feels like you're playing a game from a decade ago, but with microtransactions. So with that said, that brings us to the end of this review. Since it's free to play, I think it's worth giving a shot since I know a lot of viewers of my channel like Call of Duty and Escape from Tarkov, but I would be very wary about putting money into this game before you experience it. I thought it would be a fun game to turn into this channel's first ever video review. Since this was my first time doing a video review, please let me know what you thought about it in the comments. I'm open to feedback, and if you think it's worthy of a like, I'd really appreciate it to boost this up the YouTube algorithm. Also, I streamed my first impressions of this game here on YouTube, so if you want to see some raw, unedited gameplay, click the link in the card above to go watch that. And if you want to always see future streams and videos from me, make sure you subscribe and turn on the notification bell. Thank you all so much for watching. This was a lot of fun to make, and I'll see you all in my Discord. Adios.